And the border thing really brings me to my first question, and that is, none of this would be necessary if we had a serious border policy. And we're the only industrialized country that doesn't have a real immigration policy. And I've said on the show before that the cynical but simplistic answer for that is that Democrats want the votes, Republicans want the underpriced labor. Then I think there's a lot of truth to that. But putting that aside, okay, we have a bill. Okay, all I've been hearing from the right and from the MAGA world is, we need to get rid of catch and release. We need to be able to deport people better. We need more border officers. We need to be able to process more people, all this stuff. So now we have a bill that answers all of those, which basically is anathema to progressives in so many ways. Okay, and you have people like James Langford, who is one of the most conservative guys around, who is pleading. And yet all of a sudden, because Trump wants a political win, that little weak election-denying speaker who's so unqualified is saying, it's dead on arrival. And now you get this argument about, we have to enforce existing laws. So can you please acknowledge that this bill is a good bill, and that that if Republicans were serious about border control, they should pass a bill which, in the words of Republican senators, and I can name about 10 of them, have said we're never going to get a bill this good. Even if we get control of the White House, the Senate, and the House, we'll never get 60 votes. What say you?
Well, I haven't read the bill in depth, and it keeps changing. I think some of the concern is the generally, and I don't know if it's in the current form, but generally special treatment for people who broke the law, and saying that somehow they should be able to cut to the front of the line for citizenship. I think that's wrong. I think they should have to go in the same order as everybody else who is following the law. I just had a friend of mine who he arrived in December from Afghanistan with his wife and little boy. He had been an interpreter for the U.S. Army. It took him 2.5 years since the incompetent, disastrous, death-infused withdrawal in Afghanistan by the U.S. military to get him out. And what's so sad is that he put his life on the line for us. And yet you have people who mock our government and cross over 6 million
I agree. I agree that the Afghanistan withdrawal was botched, and that we should help a lot of people. From an immigrant. But but the reason you're getting in the weeds and you're not answering the question. The bottom line is, this was a bill that Republicans supported. All of a sudden, Donald Trump is against it, and now they're against it. So wouldn't you like to see end of catch and release? All these things that these conservative senators are talking about, but the puppets in the House are saying it's DOA, and they're saying, Biden should enforce existing rules. Well, that's true, but that's not answering the main issue. Here's a bill that they're never going to get again. So can you please at least publicly say that they should, if the bill comes out and addresses most of the things that Republicans should vote for it, and will you also acknowledge that they were for it until Trump was against it? Isn't that true?
Again, I haven't followed those particulars.
That's not it. But yes or no with Trump, he was the one who opposed it, and then everyone started opposing it. Look back, it's like a light switch went off. And again, I don't care about Trump. I'm just saying this is the way. It's a bigger picture. This is the way the Republican Party is right now, where it's not about policy. And here's something that Republicans have dreamed about getting. And Biden, to his credit, knows it's his weak issue. And he is making progressives go nuts by saying, you know what, I'll shut down the border tomorrow. I'll sign this bill. But all of a sudden, Trump doesn't want it, so the House isn't going to bring it up.
So I think I hope you can agree with Speaker Johnson on the fact that it is true we have not enforced laws on the book. So the question is, why should we create a bunch of more meaningless laws?
They're not meaningless.
Sure. No. I'm going to give an analogy here that it was a great Wall Street Journal columnist.
You're obviously not going to answer the question. Okay.
No. I'm pointing out the realities, because it's one thing to have a pie in the sky, kumbaya bill that everyone signs off on. But then the reality is Joe Manchin can actually speak to this. Joe Manchin was promised specific provisions if he endorsed that giveaway bill, the Inflation Reduction Act, guess what? He never got his promised things. Same thing happened, as the Wall Street Journal pointed out this year, when you're talking about the tax bills. Ronald Reagan was promised.
Crying out loud. We're going back to Reagan.
Let me answer the question. I'm answering the question. Why are Republicans
so far in the weeds here? It's almost entertaining.
No.
Go ahead.
I'm giving the context of why, because you're talking about the state of the Republican Party. I'm telling you, Republicans are sick of being chumps. Ronald Reagan, in the Wall Street Journal pointed out this year, Ronald Reagan was promised that for every $1 where he increased the spending, he would get $3 in tax cuts. Well, guess what? He agreed to the spending, but he never got his tax cuts. So he was a chump. And so the Republicans here, they don't want to be a chump. The fact is, you have 6 million people who have entered illegally, Dave. Why can't the Biden administration stop that massive?
This is a red herring. And first of all, by the way, Ronald Reagan got his military increases and he got his tax cuts, and he didn't get his spending because and he knew he wasn't going to get his spending increases. And by the way, he was also a pragmatist who raised taxes when he needed to. But putting that aside, the Wall Street Journal, by the way, which you always quote, has said this bill is the best bill we're going to get. Sign it. And they're pointing out exactly what I'm saying, is that the only reason it's not happening is because Trump doesn't want it. And so the Republican Party is going to take what they see as a political win over what's best for the country. And by the way, my advice to Biden, go on TV, say, I'm willing to shut down the border right now. I've agreed to A, B, C, D, E, F, which I never would agree to. Everyone in my party on the left wing wants to kill me, but this is important. And just hammer them and hammer them and hammer them, because when people tune into the election, they are going to see that this has been an incredible betrayal of what's best for the American interest. So we'll leave it at that. But you asked me your second question.
Okay, I have so much more to say next time.
I know, same here. We could do an hour on this.